Hey everyone, it's SGLA Man, and welcome back to another video game review. This time I'm going to be reviewing the Combat Flight Simulator from Project Aces and Bandai Namco, Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown. So it's been a while since we've had our last Ace Combat game, and I'm happy to say that this one's pretty good. The gameplay is still fun and arcadey as ever, but it is kind of challenging at points, especially in the later half of the campaign. The main attraction is, and probably always will be, the dogfighting. It's really fun to pull off the more advanced maneuvers to get into position to take down your enemy with a wide range of weaponry. I will say that there is a bit of a learning curve to the game itself. There is no real tutorial. There's just some basic text at the beginning of the early missions to show you some basic controls, but really you're just going to be jumping right in and just learning as you go, which is kind of part of the fun of the game. And with that being said, I would recommend putting it on expert controls because while it makes that learning curve just a little bit harder in the beginning, it does make doing some of the more advanced maneuvers easier to do, and also it just adds to the feeling of being an ace pilot while playing the game. Another thing I really like is the mission variety in the game itself. There's only 20 missions, but each one is pretty unique, and it just keeps you on your toes and keeps things interesting as you're playing through the game. I also like the different challenges that each mission can bring upon you. So, for instance, you can fly through a lightning storm in a couple missions. My personal favorite is your radar will get a little funky, and you'll have to fly close to your enemy to identify them first to see if they are indeed an enemy or an ally. And it's just different stuff like that that really keeps you on your toes and just makes the game way more interesting. And I also will say that this game is absolutely gorgeous. The lightning I talked about earlier is beautiful, and I also really love the cloud effects, and the planes are also really good looking too. With all that being said, the one knock I will say is that the checkpoint system is pretty brutal. Some of the missions can be about 20 minutes long, and if you fail, you just fail, and you'll have to replay those 20 missions. I will also say that there can be a lot going on at once, so especially later on, your radar will just be lighting up while you're trying to change your objective, while also listening to the different characters speak on the radio, trying to give you some of the story, and it can just be a lot to take in at once. Speaking of the story itself, I think it's just okay. It does have a couple of really good moments, and I like a couple of the characters, and it does actually touch upon a couple of interesting themes while you're playing through the game. That being said, Ace Combat has always been a melodramatic series, and this one just takes it a little over the top, and it's just, I don't know, it's not really for me. I really liked 4 because I think it struck the perfect balance of kind of what I'm talking about, but this one just goes a little bit too far in its melodrama, so I don't know, it just kind of not for me. Another thing I want to talk about is the multiplayer, and it's just kind of there, to be honest. There's only 2 modes. There's team deathmatch, and then there's what they call battle royale, where it's everybody against each other. And I will say having the additional challenge of fighting against other people is kind of fun. It's just kind of bare bones, and I really don't think it's the main attraction to the game. I think you're going to be buying this game for the campaign, and the multiplayer is just going to be a side thing that you do. There is one other aspect in that there is a VR component to this game. Unfortunately, I do not own a PlayStation VR, so I can't tell you anything about it. So I would actually just recommend going to find another review that has reviewed the VR component and see what they think about it. And yeah, with that being said, I'll get on to my final thoughts. Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown is the revival of a genre, really, that we don't get to see a lot of. The game itself is a lot of fun to play, and it looks absolutely gorgeous, especially the planes themselves and the weather patterns that can pop up from time to time. With that being said, this game is a bit of a throwback in terms of the checkpoints being extremely brutal, and the story itself is not my favorite. It gets a little bit too melodramatic even for the series standards, and there is multiplayer if you're interested, but that's really not why you play Ace Combat. With all that being said, I finished the campaign in about 12 hours. The log itself said 10, but I don't think that counts cutscenes, so it was really about 10 to 12, I would say. And there is also a VR component, but I don't have VR, so you'll have to go find somebody else for that. And with all that being said, I will say that if you're a huge fan of the series or these kind of games in general, I would highly recommend picking this game up. If you're not and you just want to give it a try at some point, I would recommend that you wait for this game to go on sale and to pick it up for about half price, and it can be a really fun weekend game for you to go through. So, that is it for this review. If you liked what you've seen, you can go ahead and like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel for more game reviews, streams, all the good gaming stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.